everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be doing a book haul. So I actually have a lot of books to share with you guys today, and honestly all I have energy to do right now is sit on the floor. So that is from where we are going to be talking about these books. But I have so many, I did not realize how many books I have acquired, and this is a combination of books that were sent to me as well as books that I have purchased. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Today's video is sponsored by Disney Book Group in honor of the recent release of Cold Hearted by Serena Valentino. This is the 8th installment in Serena Valentino's New York Times bestselling series that focuses on the villains that we know and love from the Disney classics. In this case, we are focusing on Lady Tremaine, who is the iconic evil stepmother. I feel like there is no character more iconic in the Disney universe than the evil stepmother. And here we are getting her backstory. We are getting how she became the Lady Tremaine, or really how she like transformed from Lady Tremaine into the evil stepmother that you know and love, but also really hate. This book is now on sale, so I'll have a link down below so you can go and check it out. But I think it sounds like such a good look at an iconic villainous character. I don't know about you guys, but I really love a villain backstory. I love seeing how iconic villains came to be the people that they are in the stories that you know. I love those untold stories, and generally books surrounding that I tend to love as well. So I am really looking forward to reading this one. I have very high expectations, and I cannot wait to learn more about the evil stepmother. And thank you once again very much to Disney Book Group for sponsoring today's video. One of the good things about filming on the floor is that we can have Charlie visit. So Charlie says hello to everyone. He would like to help me in showing you the books, but realistically he won't be very helpful. So I'm going to let him, go to bed. Oh my god, such bad breath. So I'm sorry that someone is cutting the grass. Honestly, filming in the apartment is very, very difficult because you can hear every single noise, but the show must go on. So the first book that, well, the second book that I wanted to talk about today is this Demigod collection. So this is the Percy Jackson Demigod collection. It is a Rick Riordan book, obviously, but it features 3 of the stories that we know and love. So we have Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief, the Heroes of Olympus, the Lost Hero, and the Trials of Apollo, the Hidden Oracle. So essentially it is the first book from all 3 of those series into one giant book. I was sent this in a package that was celebrating the anniversary of Percy Jackson, and I think this is a great way to, like, a great gift for someone to get all of the stories in one and not have to buy the books individually. Obviously it's a big chunky book to read, but you've got everything here. Next up is Rise to the Sun by Leah Johnson. So this is another book that was sent to me, but it's definitely one that I would have picked up on my own anyways. So it is by the author of You Should See Me in a Crown, which was an adorable romance that I read earlier this year and absolutely loved. And this is another romance. So she writes queer romances. They're specifically female-female relationships. In this one, you are following a character who is an expert at falling in love and then getting dumped. And she ends up going to this music festival, and she meets up with this other girl, and basically the 2 of them have to team up at this music festival to try and get what they want out of it. So the other character is trying to follow in her father's footsteps. He went to this same music festival and it completely changed his life, and she has lost him recently, so she's dealing with that grief. So it's the combination of these 2 characters, and it's set over the course of 3 days, I believe. Yes, so 3 days, 2 girls, 1 life-changing music festival. I've never really read anything set at a music festival, so I think this would be a really great summer read, and it is one I'm looking forward to after enjoying her first book so much. Next up is If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. I am so excited for this book because it is Julie Murphy, who is the author of Dumplin' and various other Dumplin' companions, and she also has a couple of other series as well. Well, not series, but she has a couple of other books as well, but this is her first venture into adult romance, and I think it sounds amazing. So it follows a character who actually has a degree in shoe design, of all things, which is super cool, and she ends up being a contestant on a reality show. She wasn't expecting to be, like, it just kind of ends up that she's on there, and it's this dating show, and she is the only plus-sized contestant. So she is really shaking things up, and she's becoming a body positivity icon for everyone out there. I just love Julie Murphy's writing, so I think that she will do a great job with an adult romance, and the plotline for this sounds incredible, getting major Cinderella vibes from the whole thing, especially like the cover and everything, and I am definitely down for that. This was also sent to me, by the way, but definitely one that I would have picked up anyways. Next, I have a couple of arcs that were sent to me. So the first one is Why We Fly by Kimberly Jones and Gilly Seagull. I actually have this author duo's other book that I really need to read soon, but this one totally intrigued me because it deals with cheerleading, and I used to do cheerleading back in high school, and it's something that I've always really loved and found very fun. So the fact that there's a book surrounding it sounds amazing. And this also deals with Black Lives Matter. It features this kind of shakeup in the school system where the cheerleaders decide to take a knee during the first football game, and that causes a lot of drama. So I know that their first book also deals with the Black Lives Matter movement, and I have heard nothing but great things about it, so definitely am eager to read some of their work. The next arc that I have is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is, I believe, what the final US cover looks like, but when I was going to mark this on Goodreads, I saw, I don't know if it's the UK cover or what, but oh my goodness, it is so much nicer than the US and Canadian one, but I digress. I am so excited to have a new Stephanie Garber book. If you aren't familiar with her, she is the author of the Caraval series, which I haven't finished yet, which is kind of ridiculous because there's only one book left, and I don't know why I'm like this, but I just always put off that like one last book forever, and that seems to be the case with that series as well. But now she has something new coming out, and it seems like exactly what I would hope from her. This is all about a main character who grew up in a curiosity shop, and she grew up hearing legends such as that of the Prince of Hearts. So when she ends up finding out that the love of her life is about to marry someone else, she ends up making a deal with the Prince of Hearts to stop that. And obviously that is going to be a very bad and sticky situation, and also very intriguing at the same time. I have a feeling I'm really going to like this one, so I hope I can squeeze it in soon. Next is The Princess Will Save You by Sarah Henning. This is by the author of Sea Witch, which I really need to read. I've had it for a very long time, but I pre-ordered the paperback of this one, and I didn't even know, but it is an homage to The Princess Bride, which is super cool. In this story, the princess's true love, who is a commoner, he ends up being trapped to try and coerce her into a political marriage, but she doesn't fall for it. She's not giving in. She actually goes to rescue him. That just sounds so good. Definitely see the Princess Bride vibes there, and I feel like, I mean, I hope it's going to kind of capture the humor of that, the humor and the adventure part of it. I think if it has that, it's going to be a winning combination and a book that I'm really going to enjoy. Next up is Xoxo by Axie O. This cover just totally drew me in. It is absolutely beautiful, and the story sounds really great as well. So this follows a main character who wants to get into this very prestigious music school. It's all she really wants, and she ends up getting in, and then she discovers that this mysterious guy that she met, he also goes to this school, but he actually is a K-pop star, so he's not allowed to date anyone, like he's forbidden from it, and obviously that's going to lead to some tension between the two of them. I just think that seems like a really cool concept. The whole story is set in South Korea as well, which is amazing, so definitely one that I think could be great. Next up is The Right Side of Reckless by Whitney D. Grandison. This one, and also XOXO, I pre-ordered myself, but this is basically about two characters. Like, the one has been a bad boy and he is trying to get his life together. He's trying to figure things out and end his streak of rebellion, I guess, and he ends up meeting this girl who is like totally off limits to him, but he can't help but be drawn to her, and she has been told by her parents that he's off limits, so it's kind of like the tension there I think could be very interesting. Seems like a kind of like enemies to lovers, forbidden romance dynamic, so that could be amazing. Next up, I have two books that were sent to me, and that is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe and Aristotle Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World by Benjamin Alire-Senez. So this book came out a while ago and it has been very, very, very hyped up. And now there is going to be a sequel, and this one is coming out October 12th. Actually, I forgot to give you the release dates for the other arcs that I showed. So Once Upon a Broken Heart is coming out in September, and then Why We Fly is coming out in October. Anyways, back to this book. So I have read Aristotle and Dante and I didn't love it. I liked it, but I think my expectations were a little bit too high, so I was a little bit let down. So I don't think I'm going to read the sequel. I will be unhauling this and donating it to the library that I put in at my old high school. If you're wondering how I'm going to do that now that I live 10 hours away from that, I'm going to bring down all the books when I go and visit my parents, which I'm going soon because I have an event to go to. I just think someone else would love this book a lot more than me. Like, it wasn't a bad book by any means. I just think my expectations were super high, but I am really happy that they are continuing with the story because I know there's so many people out there that love the first book, so I think they will be very happy to have a continuation to it. Next is Of Princes and Promises by Sandhya Menon. This is the next book in the Rosetta Academy series, which I have the first one and haven't read yet, but that is Of Curses and Kisses, and it is essentially a contemporary boarding school story, but it's like a royal boarding school, I believe. I don't know if I have that wrong. I might, but this is a retelling of The Frog Prince. Well, the first book was a Beauty, I think it was a Beauty and the Beast. Maybe it's not, but I'm pretty sure it was a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Basically, they're fairy tale retellings, but set at a modern day boarding school, which sounds like just absolutely amazing. They also have changed up the covers, and I do prefer this cover to the old one. I think it's really nice. Like, I don't hate the old one by any means, but this one is really fun. Next up, I have a finished copy of The Lucky List by Rachel Lippincott. So I have an arc of it somewhere in my shelves behind me, and it is a book that I have been super looking forward to reading. So this is one of the authors of 5 Feet Apart, which was a movie, and then they made a book out of it. This is now just a book by one of those authors. I think this is going to be a very emotional story though. It follows a character whose mother has died from cancer, and she has been really struggling with that ever since. It's been 3 or so years since she lost her mother, and since then she has just been having a very difficult time. And she ends up finding, while they are like packing up the house, the last house that she was in with her mother, which she's really upset about the fact that her father wants to sell it. While they're packing that up and going through everything, she ends up finding a list that her mother wrote of things, like a bucket list, where it was things that she wanted to do for her senior year. So since the main character is now in her senior year, she plans on completing all the things on that list. I just think that sounds like so great. I know this is going to be a really difficult read, but I think it could be a very meaningful and impactful one at the same time. So I will try to get to this when I'm in the right mindset for it. Next is Indestructible Object by Mary McCoy. So this is a coming of age story, which I tend to really enjoy coming of age stories. And it is about a teen who is going through a breakup, and she, along the course of that, is finding out some things about herself, like coming of age, you know, that sort of thing. She's starting to learn more about who she is, and I feel like I haven't really read all that many books that deal with breakups, so nice to have another one. Next I have We Can't Keep Meeting Like This by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I am so excited to have this book. This is by the author of Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, which I read earlier this year and really enjoyed. So this is for sure one that I'm going to be trying to get to in the next little bit. It kind of reminds me of, oh my gosh, what's it called? The Casey West book, Maybe This Time, because it's set over the course, this time it's just over the course of a summer. The other one is over a year, but you follow the caterer and the wedding planner. I think this one's the wedding planner. Yes, okay, so Quinn's parents are wedding planners and Tariq's parents own a catering company. So they are like meeting over the course of the summer at all of these different events, and I just think that sounds so great, adorable, the perfect summer read. Like, this cover, so beautiful, and I just loved her first book, so I have no doubts that I will enjoy this one as well. Next is The Coming Storm by Regina M. Hansen. So I didn't realize, but this is actually set in Prince Edward Island, which is super cool. So it is set in Canada, and it's a magical take on Prince Edward Island. Like, there's a sea monster and everything. It seems like a really interesting read, unlike anything I've ever really read before, so definitely very intrigued. Next is One Great Lie by Deb Coletti. So this was also sent to me. I had an ARC before, but this is a finished copy of it, and this deals with a writer, and it's a character who ends up going to Venice for writing, and she is staying at this like mysterious island estate of this Venetian author, but she also has a poet, a Venetian poet in her lineage that she's trying to learn more about and everything. Seems really interesting, and I mean, Venice sounds like amazing right now and like somewhere I would like to go, so if this book is going to transport me there, that would be amazing. Next is Blood Like Magic by Liselle Sambury. So I pre-ordered this. Actually, the last two books, I mean 3 including this one, that I have to talk about, I pre-ordered myself. This sounds so great. It's about a character who she has to kill her first love, but the problem is she hasn't fallen in love with anyone yet. So she knows she has to kill him before she even meets him. So she has to go and try and find someone, fall in love with them, and then kill them. That just seems very stressful and like a very interesting take on, I feel like that plot line has been done before, but this is like a different way to do it, where she hasn't met him before and she's actually going and seeking him out. So really intrigued by that. Next is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. So Elizabeth Lim is the author of some of the Disney Twisted Tales, and the only book that I've read by her as of now, although I have many more that I want to read, is Spin the Dawn, and I read that earlier this year and I really enjoyed it. Her writing is amazingly beautiful, so I'm very excited for her next fantasy here. This one is dealing with a character who has forbidden magic. She's a princess with forbidden magic, and she ends up at her betrothal ceremony revealing this magic, and her stepmother ends up using that against her. Like, she also has magic, so she turns her brothers into cranes, and if she speaks of it to anyone, then a brother will die for each word that she says. So that obviously is a very interesting and unique plot line that I'm really excited to read. And the final book that I have here is Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know by Samira Ahmed. I pre-ordered the paperback of this book not knowing that they were changing the cover, but this new cover is really beautiful. This is a story that is spanning centuries, and it is set in many different places, but it essentially is about women who are trying to break out of family expectations and a world that favors men. So definitely seems really interesting, and I haven't really heard all that much about this book, but it intrigued me. So those are all of the books that I have to haul today. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have read any of these, please let me know your thoughts on them. And thank you very much once again to Disney Book Group for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to check out Cold Hearted by Serena Valentino, which is out now. I will have a link down below for you guys to check it out. But I now have to put all of these books away. I have to find space on my shelves for them. So I will see you guys in another new video soon. Bye!